Hey guys, I just wanted to make a video going over the neuromuscular junction so that you can review it and learn it and be ready for the tests on it. So I'm just going to start by labeling a couple of different things. So this top part that's like circly looking, that's going to be your neuron, and then the bottom one is your muscle, so neuromuscular junction. And then between the two of them, you have a synaptic cleft. These purple channels are your voltage-gated calcium channels, and the green ones are your voltage-gated sodium channels. So you're going to have sodium. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a second. And then down here, this like whitish yellow area is called the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and the sarcoplasmic reticulum has calcium in it already. And then the pink area, that's called your sarcoplasm. And then these dark green ones are called DHP, and the lighter green ones are called ryanodine. And I'll get to what they do in a second, but I just wanted to show those real quick so we get an overview of all the words that we're going to be using. So in the neuron, we have these like lightish, these like blue circles with red dots in them. So the circles are called vesicles, and they're going to hold acetylcholine. So what's going to happen is you're going to have an action potential that's going to come down the neuron, and it's going to start opening voltage-gated sodium channels. So sodium is going to come into this neuron. And as sodium comes into the neuron, it's going to cause voltage-gated calcium channels to also open, which causes calcium to come into the cell or into the neuron. So once calcium is inside the neuron, it will combine over here to something called the snare protein. Once it's bound to the snare protein, it also attracts a vesicle of acetylcholine and then creates exocytosis, which is just like sealing the acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft right here. On the membrane of a muscle cell, you have these brown receptors called ligand-gated cation channels or nicotinic type 1 channels. Normally they're closed, but when acetylcholine comes in, it will bind to these channels and open them up. Once they're open, then sodium will come through the channel into the muscle cell, which will cause a depolarization. Once the depolarization is high enough, it's going to open these voltage-gated sodium channels that are on the T-tubule, which then causes an action potential to go down the T-tubule. On the T-tubule, you also have these green ones called dark green is DHP, and the light green is ryanodine. This bottom is kind of picture is like how they normally are. DHP like corks ryanodine and makes it so calcium can't get out. But as that action potential is coming down the T-tubule, it causes DHP to open, which then uncorks ryanodine, and ryanodine is also open at this point. So once ryanodine is open, that calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum will leave ryanodine and go to the pink part, which is the sarcoplasm. So in this picture, you can kind of see the next part. It's the thick and thin filaments. So the blue one, the blue balls are going to be your actin. And then down here, these darker yellow parts are going to be the myosin. I'm just going to go down because they're bigger down here. So I'm just going to label some key components. So this orange line that is right here is called tropomyosin. You have these like these lighter yellowish white balls called troponin. And then the green balls are your actin, and the purple is your myosin. So for this, tropomyosin is normally covering these binding sites, or these darker circles within actin. And these binding sites are where the myosin head is going to want to bind to. But normally troponin is on top of these binding sites, making it so tropomyosin is on top of these binding sites, making it so the myosin head cannot bind there. But when we release calcium from that sarcoplasmic reticulum, it will combine with troponin. And once calcium and troponin are bound, then it will move tropomyosin off of the binding sites, allowing the myosin head to bind to the binding sites, which is cross-bridge formation. And then the myosin heads are going to pull the actin over the top of them, which is cross or power stroke. And then once it gets to the point where it can't pull it any farther, then it's going to release it and recover. And that is the neuromuscular junction, and what it does and how it causes a muscle contraction. To stop a muscle contraction, there's a few things we can do. On the sarcoplasmic reticulum, we have something called a circa pump. And it's going to take the calcium that got out of the sarcoplasmic reticulum and put it back in there. And we also have these things at the top called acetylcholine esterase. They're like little Pac-Mans. And what they do is they go through the synaptic cleft and they eat all the acetylcholine so that eventually they won't be bound to your channels, making your channels close and everything else to stop.